We are going live in 3, 2, 1. Twitter. All right, and we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Saturday night. Well, this is the first Saturday night I've done this, so I mean, don't take it too much. I've got one concurrent user. And that's where we're at. So, let's figure out a topic for tonight. Last night, which was great, by the way, we did a little talk about the edge. How it's all about creating, transforming, and consuming. Well, a large portion of the stuff that we do, obviously, in the edge is that transforming part, right? And so, before we get started on that, I wanted to, go back and just review a little bit. We're going to review stuff tonight, and I know this is, completely, I don't know, probably nothing against it, but I'm having a wonderful Astrid from Allagash Brewing Company. I did announce that on Twitter earlier, but figured I'd say it again. So after a long day of wrenching on my car, I have a nice 62 Triumph TR3. I'm doing a new radiator with electric cooling fan plus a generator to alternator switch out. And that's painful, to say the least. This sneeze. Yeah. Whew. That felt good. So a lot of just staring at wiring, cutting wiring, stripping wires, heat shrinking, butt joining. Not butt joining. Well, using butt connections. And all to the sake that I'm going to try to get this thing working at some point in the next couple of days. So, well, a couple weeks. I would like it to be sooner as opposed to later, but see what we can do. Anyway, so I'm going to have, this as we go along the way. So, probably even more lucid explanations for stuff. So, I'm going to just go over here to Twitter real quick and see what we got going on. View profile. Gotta retweet it. Gotta retweet it with a live. Alright. So now I've wasted some time. We'll see if anybody else joins. Probably not. But let's keep talking. So like I said, we talked about the edge in review. We talked about the aspects of the edge being... I think we talked to a... No! Okay. And we triggered my Alexa from here. So, this is why we do these things. That's through the dark door over there. We don't have to worry about Alexa anymore. So I was saying, last night we reviewed the edge. The edge is about the aspects of data creation. It is about how we as consumers have to create data first. And we do a lot of our creation through mechanisms like this or clients like this. I go on here, I use the illustration of a selfie. Someone got married last night. It's cute. Well, data output right here, consuming it. Yay, Instagram. We use the concept of data creation. Whereby I'm creating something on a device that does not exist inside a data center. It exists in my hand. The most common thing is a cell phone. That's what we all use. It is an edge device, a true edge device. It's not tethered to the cloud. It's not tethered to a data center anywhere. It is fully free and extant, which is great. The next step we talked about is the transformation process. I used, again, going on the selfie stuff, I talked about applying filters. Now, a lot of the stuff we do as close to the source of that data creation as possible, right? So in these cases, we want to do stuff when it's most convenient to do it. So if I go with the selfie thing, I am applying a filter directly on my photo I just took. And that filter, does facial recognition. It does any number of things, and that's awesome, right? We love that concept of stuff. And so, as we kind of go along, what we're looking at is, okay, that's cool and all, but how about let's do something else. So once I've applied that filter on there, I now am posting that up to Snapchat. I'm posting that to Instagram or on Facebook, or choose your poison, right? And that image is now received by folks. It's received, it can be received, sent through the cloud, or it can be used the cloud as a background or a data holding place. Again, the edge does not exist without some of these other entities there. But it exists outside the context of cloud, and outside the context of what we call a core data center or a core. So consequently, so I've created it, I've modified it, I've now sent it out to the masses, and people receive it on their edge devices and they consume it. The application that sits on your phone is counting, when you click that like button, or you click that subscribe button on a YouTube channel or whatever you want to do. That's what happens. It goes through there and it figures out that it's like, hey, we're doing it. It's adding value to that, so the impressions, the likes, that's a kind of currency, or that's, that's it's making something of that, right? As a consumption of it. Consumption can also equate to revenue when we look at businesses. And so we took a little aspect, we took a little side jog into talking about agriculture, for example, and IoT as a more industrial basis for creation, transformation, and consumption. Pardon my dirty hands, it's still got car grease all over it. So tonight, let's talk about the transformation process. We call that any number of stuff. It can be as simple as automation, right? So automation is applying a steps of something, a step of product, or stepping through, either manually or within a predefined series of steps to something. Or we can talk about AI, and AI is a data transformation process, right? I'm not talking holistically about AI. I'm not talking about DNNs or CNNs or SNNs or whatever, right? I'm certainly not referring to CNN, the news channel, when I talk about this. I care less about the mechanisms of what it's using and more of why, the ostensible why. Why are we using AI as data transformation? Or why is AI, artificial intelligence, data transformation? So let's back up a little bit. When we create data, we create it in highly unstructured ways, right? Or we create it in structured ways. It depends on the application, right? But, me going and taking a picture is unstructured data, right? There's no form or function. It's the only picture like me. Okay, purists out there, shut the fuck up for a second, right? Because understand, yes, there's going to be some relative similarities, right? And we base those similarities on some of the underlying algorithms. But for all intents and purposes, there is no one as unique as me. All right? I'm creating a picture of me, and that's unique. It's one of a kind. In the same way I'd say there is only one Monet, there is only one Renoir, there is only one Caravaggio, there's only... Right, there is something that is unique about these things that are created, right? So that is unstructured data, right? It's unique. It's specific in and of itself. So a lot of what we do is we create this unstructured data, and that's useful to us. I mean, I as a human machine, truly, can understand that what I see. My eyes are processing it. They're taking raw data. Again, in AI is biomorphic, if anything else, right? We're going to use that concept as as a machine. I'm perceiving the bit streams of color through my optical receptors. I'm assembling that reflection of light into something that, resembles what I see here, upside down, if we remember our early neurology. And then that is assigned something. It is assigned a value inside my head, right? My brain goes, that's a human being. Further, that's me, because I know I took the conditions of it. I took a selfie, and selfie means me, right? So I've now transformed that raw data, those raw, optical channels, that raw whatever, into something that is useful to me. It suddenly has value. It has meaning, Okay. If you look at that, that autonomous process is going through several stages in my brain. Now, those are very, very similar to the neural processes that we see in artificial intelligence. It's going through, is this, in a very, very simple way, is this what is this? We start with a larger screen and we filter it down gradually until it reach a coherent and concurrent answer. Or an answer that gets us 90% of the way there. Again, we always struggle for accuracy with an artificial intelligence space, right? 100% accurate artificial intelligence machine is not here yet. But we get close. We absolutely get close. And there's enough variation, a la Darwin, variation of species, that there's always going to be room for derivations there. There's always going to be some standard deviation of error, right? And it's just statistically relevant. Screw statistics for a second. Raw data, processed, transformed, and equates to the output that it has meaning. So why do we look, why does artificial intelligence then get conflated with so many other things? Like, oh my God, it's going to be the job stealer, it's a job taker. We always talk about it at a high level, but we never talk about what it does at a high level, right? Or we do, and we I forget the word off the top of my head, but we always kind of objectify it and say, oh, this is going to be a job stealer. But we never understand it within the context of what it was actually designed to do, or what it is designed to do. It's designed to take various scattered, logical blocks or inputs or data points, coalesce them into something that's, coalesce them, derive meaning from them, and output that meaning. Right? I mean, it's very utterly simplistic, but isn't that the endpoint that we're trying to get to? So when we look within the science and technology space, right? So artificial intelligence is, again, I am going with as grossly. Sorry, I have to adjust myself and take a swig here for a second, so I don't end up coughing like I did last night. Some grossly over-specific stuff when it comes to AI. I'm really, really looking at those outputs. I'm really looking at how it takes the raw, chunky data on the front end and converts it into something that's useful on the back end. Right? So let's go through some of the use cases within enterprise. Chatbots. Yay! We all love chatbots, right? No, we don't. We love them about as much as we like IVR responses on phones. I used this in illustration with the Cube the other day. We talked about IVR and chatbots, so this rings a little bit hollow for some of you. I'm sorry, not sorry. IVR was very simple. It was voice recognition and response, right? So you operated on basically gates or understood responses. Where it would have problems. There's a YouTube video that's about two Scottish gentlemen in an elevator trying to get to a certain floor, and they use and the elevator system is only using voice recognition, and they're trying to get to 10, floor 10. And as much as they say it never gets them to 10, right? Because you just can't understand their accent. And if you ever met a really good Scotsman, yeah, we understand it. Good Scotsman. Good, bad, whatever. Indifferent, doesn't matter. If you ever met somebody with a very thick Scottish accent, you can probably sympathize or empathize with that, right? So, same thing with like good old Irish accent, or an accent, period. Sometimes it takes a lot to get there. But IVR is based on some very, very simple inputs and responses, right? Interactive voice response. Real basic system. Do you want to access your account? That would be a leading question. Well, this would be programmed. I did a little bit of this back in the day. Do you want to access your account? Yes or no. This is the only two questions. The answers. It's super binary. You either do or you don't. You assign a value of yes, then that triggers the next question. You assign a value of no, then it would trigger another set of questions. Do you want blah, 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 blah. And we get this all the time when we call in our credit card companies or utility companies or whatever. And so it's not unfamiliar to us. So AI is very similar to this, and this is where I was going to go with this. We have chatbots for work, for companies that are implementing. What they're designed to do, is not only take that front end data, I as a consumer am going in there answering questions, right? There's a structure to them. There's a level of expectation in questions, but they use stuff called natural language processing, right? Where they're trying to get the gist of what you're saying and kind of conform it. So I can say, I want to access my accounts, then I want to deposit money, I want to do all this stuff. And so it can pick up the sequences, or it can pick up the things that are in there. Again, highly reductionistic, but it can pick up the actions and opportunities within those contextual statements that I'm making. Knowing what it is, knowing that it functions in a financial services institution, and it can start to work and join those things together. So what it's doing in the background then is it's basically taking and it's assembling the ideals behind, the data points that would make up that whole. Again, I'm coming to it as a consumer. I know that I have 15 accounts with Santander, for example, or Bank of America, or Wells Fargo, or whoever. I know I have that. I know that, I want the bank account of, I want the value of my bank account for this particular account. Now, in order to get there, I can look at an app on my phone, which would be easiest. Always default to the app. But let's, for shits and giggles, we're on the website. So, I'm breezing through. I'm like, you know what? I'm already here. Might as well have that conversation. So I get on their chatbot. I don't want to deal with a person, even though a person would probably get me there faster, but there's going to be a queue on the front of it. So chatbot seems to be the next most reasonable thing, because I know that within a certain amount of conditioned responses, I can get where I need to go. All right, I'm just going to delay assemble it. So from the chatbot's perspective, user A enters the arena, which is great. I've got a customer. Now, I don't know anything about this person, so now I got to set conditions on who this customer is. First question out. And I'm going to go through my options that I have. Hi, my name is Eureka Chatbot, or Moneyman, whatever. Can I know your name? Sure, my name is Dave. Now, if I don't get my whole name, I'm doing a partial field fill. All right, I've given some unstructured data, or I've given something that could be considered structured, unstructured or structured data. That's a data point, though. Now, in the back end, I'm connected to a whole bunch of high-speed systems within a private data center or within the cloud. This is a use case of AI within, using data that's going to be located somewhere in an index or a database, which invariably is located in the core data center or cloud, right? Core data center or cloud. Two things, not three. Funky three. All right, Dave, I'm going to go through. All right, I got a list. I've got access to the first name field of our entire client database, or a sequestered database based on security principles, because security in AI is a huge one that we don't talk about, and I'm not the expert, so I'm going to bring on experts in the future. We'll do that for our elemental collision video cast in the future, but we want to talk about security. We want to be hardcore about it. So I've determined that Dave, you're Dave. Chatbot gets all excited. I've got one data point. Now I need more. May I have your last name? Because logically, Dave gets me 3,000 users, let's say, within a geography. And I know I'm certainly bounded by where I'm entering from, right? So there's some reasonable guesses that we can put in place here. I know your IP ranges come from Comcast or Fios, whatever, so I can narrow it down to a certain location, so on and so forth. So I get some of these things. So I'm already bounding things down a little bit, trickery. But I want to make that arena smaller. So user A, Dave, comes in. Moneyman chatbot starts to assemble that data point. Starts to assemble all these disparate and disconnected data points into, again, transform the unique data into something that is valuable and consumable in the back end. Dave, may I have your last name? Sure, it's Graham. And I spell it correctly this time. It's Graham. Excellent, Mr. Graham. In the background, I now have the second data field, which is always, last name should always be segregated from the first name. It's the easiest way to sort. I did some database stuff way back in the day. I guarantee it hasn't changed all that much since I did it. Bang! Now I've found 500 David Grahams. So now I'm from 3,000 to 500. Excellent. May I know what... there's a couple different branch logic here. You could say I can go down a couple different paths. But I want to further refine that data set and get down to who you actually are. I could do that. Or I could just ask the next question, which is going to be another field kind of getter. But, all right, Dave Graham. It's nice to meet you. May I ask what you're wanting to do today? I want to find the account balance. All right, what kind of account do you have? Again, finding account balance means I have to have an account. So let's say I'm going to knock down a 500 to 300, right? So 200 Dave Grahams out there don't have an account with this in this bank. I just got them from a list. It's on a list, right? So down 300. Good. I'm getting more excited because now I've screened that point out. All right, what kind of account is it? Is it a checking, savings account, or other? Now, I'm going to be really fucky with Moneybot and say it's going to be other because I don't understand what the basis of checking or savings is. Other. All right, other. 300 goes down to 100 now because other could be, it's a catch-all category. When you say other, Mr. Graham, what do you mean? Do you mean money market? Do you mean certificate of deposit? Do you mean investment? Oh, yeah, money market account. Money market. Bang. Now I have a list of David Graham's with money market accounts. Now I could go back to that 300 and go through and I've got 300 that have money market accounts. But, out of that 300, there was really only 200, only 100 of them really had more than two accounts with the checking and savings because those are most common, right? Multiple checking, multiple savings, we include in that category, right? So, all right, money market account. Excellent. Now, for identification purposes, just similar to human, there's going to be some sort of check mark that's going to be in there, right? It's got to verify. There's some key value. Now, I can go by address. I can go by some of these other things. Now, because you don't want just, any Tom, Dick, or Sally to come off the street and be able to spoof who you are to a chatbot and on up there. So there's got to be some level of accessing the secret code for your account. You're not going to enter your PIN number, but there has to be something. Would you please enter your birth date and or your last 4 digits of your social security number? Birth date, always better than last 4 digits of social. In my opinion, security guys, please tell me differently and I will stop doing it. So I'm entering now values against that remaining 100, and now so I'm going to narrow it down all the way to the folks that matter, right? Well, presto changeo, I've now managed to find the needle in the haystack. Maybe it's down to 2 now because there is some other odd bird out there named Dave Graham who has a birthday that's reasonably close to mine. You thought I was going to tell you on this stream. Not going to happen. Just like I'm not going to give you the last 4 digits of my social because I'm stupid, but not that stupid. Hold on. All right, so all this is great. I've got 2 Davids now. Now I need to make the ultimate final criteria. Now I said my name was Dave Graham. I didn't say it was David, but Dave is colloquial to David, right? At least in America. Legal name, yeah, is David. Or is it Dave? I forget. All right, last bit of information. Need your 4-digit social. 4-digit last 4 digits of your social security number. All right, it's whatever. Blah blah blah. All right, cool. I found you. Now, you wanted your account, your money market account balance. Here's your money market account balance. Ding! Is there anything else I can help you with today? Now, when you go through all these steps in filtering, it is no different than running multiple queries against a database. I mean, ostensibly, it is that. It's as easy as that. Now, the thing of it is where all these things are located, and this was designed to be a purely simple, extrapolation. But at no point have I touched a human system or human touch point, unless there's some overseer somewhere that's checking to make sure the data is good and looking at the logs for this, because everything's logged in the back end. They have to do it based on FINRA and SEC and FCC, FTC, and all that kind of fun shit that goes out there, legal reasons. SOX probably. GPDR, blah, 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 all these regulations. But, when it comes down to it, all these things are being checkmarked against it. But when you think about it, I've gone through a winnowing process, a narrowing down. Could that have all been done through automation? Yeah, probably. And we could probably build that in SaltStack or, build in a YAML file and, put it through all that wonderful automation that's out there, waited for inputs. We could build a program that would do that, and that would ape that kind of process. The thing that you wouldn't necessarily get from automation this standpoint is going to be that natural language processing. It's just not good enough to do that. Now, nothing to say that AI within within AI, you couldn't use automation because I think there is obviously some hooks to that. But the nature of what the chatbot is doing is not necessarily automation based, right? I would also say that, a lot of these things, where you like to spoof chatbots, on Instagram or whatever, they're the ones that send you the dinky private message like, hey, like, wait, who the hell are you? Where you can do like a drop table type thing. You send an actual SQL injection statement or SQL statement. It's like, select all from blah, 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 left outer join, blah, 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 drop. And then you crash the internet. Probably aspects of being able to do that too. I'll defer it again to my algo-derived buddies, but a lot of what you're talking about, and at least a lot of what I'm talking about in this simplistic example, again, simplistic, not designed to be a catch-all, and not designed to be complex. So you're looking at the way that this is able to take disparate data points, last name, socials, doing all that kind of stuff, and all string them together and get to an output in an achievable amount of time that results in customer satisfaction, customer consumption, right? It's all about consumption, and a return of value. So satisfaction and return on value are two things that can be closely linked together. But think about it from a bank's perspective. That is one less person that has to interact with the system. It's one less person that needs to be on the call center. It's one less mouth to feed. This is a tricky aspect of AI. I understand it. We're talking about one less human being. But when it comes down to it, 9 times out of 10, you're going into a call center somewhere that, the volume of somebody is measured on a volume. And we want, within the context of AI, to skill up people and remove the things that are just so rudimentary they don't add any value to a person's life. It's always a basis for, and should always be a basis for, skilling up the workforce, not skilling out the workforce. Important distinction here. Anyway, so that's a concept. That's a very basic aspect to artificial intelligence I wanted to convey tonight. It's been 26 minutes. It's not too bad. But the nature behind this is we want to have an idea that's put together that number one, artificial intelligence is about data transformation. It's about taking everything, all these massive amounts of inputs that could be out there. And I did it in a way that already had the data in existence. It was just stitching together stuff. That's a very, very rudimentary type. In the future, with smarter people on the phone here, when we do do what I hope ends up being a recurring series of video podcasts together, the elemental collision kind of fireside chats. What I'm hoping there is that we can get into some of these more examples, and then we can start poking the threads of where does security fit into this? Where does workforce fit into this? And I'm not talking from a marketing side, but I'm talking about the real world intersection of where does humanity fit within this AI context, right? So these are some of the things I want us to kind of consider. But from this example, again, we used structured backend data that was disparate locations, disparate things. And we used them to tie together a front end using an artificial intelligence, using natural language processing. All right, real basic concept, real basic example. In the future, we'll have more complex examples where AI exceeds the bounds of what simple automation could do and ends us in a place where I think, honestly, it could not be done by anything other than an artificial intelligence. All right. And not I can't do that, Dave. I can't let you back in the door, Dave. Creepy kind of 2001 Space Odyssey bullshit. Alrighty. This has been fun. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I have stared at the screen, seeing only one person on the entire time. It makes me sad. But it makes me happy I'm able to talk for half an hour about something that's actually worthwhile. That being said, time to sign off here in my last closing seconds. This is Dave Graham. I work for a very large tech company, which shall not be named. I do not speak on behalf of them when I do these podcasts. I just want to let you know that, you're valued, you're wanted, you're loved. It's all about, within the elemental collision thing, it's all about the collision of life, technology, and art, how things come together. So go out there, be a better human, especially in this era of machines. Talk to you later.